Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana has been sounding the alarm on this for quite some time. This suddenly, especially when you see the faces of children, Senator, it feels so personal. Why is the White House allowing this to happen?
Sometimes, Harris, when people act like they don't care, it's not an act. I don't think President Biden, or at least the people running things in his administration, care about securing the border. I don't think his administration really cares about telling folks in Central America, don't come, don't come. I mean, they may say the words, but everything the Biden administration does is create an incentive for them to come. I think that the Biden administration honestly believes in open borders. I think they believe that vetting people at the border is racist. That's wrong, and most Americans disagree. They think vetting people at the border is prudent, not because we hate everybody on the outside, because we love people on the inside, and most fair-minded people want to know who's coming into their country. We don't have the slightest idea who's coming into our country. They could be good people just looking to work, but they're also probably terrorists, they're gangbangers, they're drug dealers, they're convicted felons, and they're coming from all over the world, and President Biden and his people are welcoming them.
You know, I mentioned, and you and I have spoken about this before, it is personal. It's a mark against all of us if we can't get this right, because we are a nation of legal immigration. We were built on that. America is an amazing, amazing place, and part of us being amazing is what you're talking about. It's taking responsibility when we get things wrong and stopping that action and doing it differently. And when you look at where the numbers are for the president on this issue, Senator Kennedy, you know that the American people are not happy with him about this. And the hits just keep on coming for Biden. Inflation soaring over the last year and last month, hitting its highest rate in more than a generation, hammering American families and wiping out pay raises. Consumer prices jumped 7.5% last month. That's a whopping 435% spike from 1 year ago, and the biggest increase since February of 1982. A top White House economic advisor admits it's not good. Let's watch.
His first thoughts here are, what kind of stressors is this creating for family budgets, for households? And he knows that those stresses are real and that they're highly elevated.
And as everything is getting more expensive, gasoline prices are on the rise again, too. Today, the average price for a gallon of regular unleaded is $3.48, up $1 from this date last year. Senator Kennedy, we have ground ourselves into a nightmarish halt in terms of inflation.
Well, we have, and let me say quickly on immigration. Most Americans support legal immigration. I do. That's why we admit over 1 million people a year, more than any other country. Now, in terms of inflation, look, as I've said to you before, Harris, I like President Biden. I'm just not sure we can afford him. So far, the best evidence of the existence of the Biden administration has been the damage they leave in their wake. Exhibit A is inflation. It's the most pernicious tax imaginable. It waterboards middle Americans and those among us who are at the lower end of the wage scale. It's not complicated. We told President Biden when he passed, with all Democratic support, no Republicans, his $1.9 trillion emergency COVID bill, which had nothing to do with COVID, has more to do with crack pipes. We said, if you do that, we don't need it. It's going to cause inflation. It did. And now, as I've said before, President Biden wants to stuff more diapers down the toilet. He wants to pass the Build Back Better bill, which is $5 trillion. We've got too much money chasing too few goods, and if he passes Build Back Better, we'll have 20% inflation. And then the Federal Reserve is going to have to raise interest rates so high that it's going to throw us into a recession. This is not complicated. Democratic economists have told the Biden administration this. Unless you slept through Econ 101, it's one of the first things they teach you in the first week.
You mentioned the White House and all of this and pushing back on just what makes the most sense, the actual numbers of things. Well, right now, the White House is pushing back after that report that Health and Human Services would be using taxpayer dollars to give crack pipes to drug addicts. So you mentioned those crack pipes. Let's watch this.
HHS just put out a statement clarifying around some reports that crack pipes would be part of the safe smoking kits that are funded by the administration. But can you clarify for us, were they never a part of the kit, or were they removed in response to this reporting and this pushback?
They were never a part of the kit. We wanted to provide clarification on the allowable uses for the HHS harm reduction program. It's not a change in policy.
Well, this might be one that senators are reading. Senator Tom Cotton tweeted this: to be clear, HHS is giving taxpayer dollars to organizations to distribute crack pipes on their behalf. Just because HHS bureaucrats are not personally handing out the crack pipes doesn't make this a good idea. And Senator Marsha Blackburn vowing to hold up the government funding resolution until it's absolutely clear taxpayers are not shelling out a dime for those crack pipes. Senator Kennedy.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say this about Ms. Psaki. She probably ought to be Jana King Employee of the Year, because she has to clean up about 3 messes every single day. Look, here's what I do know. The Biden administration has taken $30 million from their emergency COVID bill, and they're using it to facilitate the smoking of crack cocaine and crystal meth. They say they can make it safer. And I say there's no way to make smoking crack cocaine or meth safer. It's like trying to put a filter on a cigarette. They ought to take this $30 million, which they said they would use for COVID. They ought to use it to secure the border to stop the drugs coming in. They ought to use it to get these folks into addiction programs, and they ought to talk straight to the American people and explain, look, you're right, we got caught trying to help people, make it easier for people to smoke crack, and it was a dumb thing to do, and we've reversed course.
You know they're not going to do that. They're never going to admit that, but you're right. I mean, if we put the money right where to quote the Vice President Kamala Harris, where the root causes are to the problem, then we could make a difference. But you're calling for complete transparency. That's a big ask. Real quickly, before I let you go, we're in a position now where Democrats are capitulating on a whole lot of things. I want to get just your quick thoughts on where you think we're going. They are going to have to come up against teachers' unions, like in my state in New Jersey, when they try to wipe away the mandates inside classrooms. I think that's going to be a harder fight for them than the CDC.
Yeah, I think it will too. But it's time for the Biden administration. They say they stand for science. I think we have a cleaner grasp of the dangers of COVID today, particularly Omicron. And it's time for the Biden administration to talk straight to the teachers' unions and tell the American people the truth. I don't have anything against Dr. Fauci, but for a variety of reasons, some of which happen to be Dr. Fauci's own fault, the American people trust Dr. Pepper more than Dr. Fauci right now.
Senator Kennedy of the great state of Louisiana, thank you for being in focus and talking about so many important topics with me today.
You bet.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.